Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC on Fox 16. Overall, very good card. Lots of good fights. Really not many of them were grinders or particularly boring fights. There was actually a lot to like about this card. Some good knockouts. Happened on this card. Great performance from Dillashaw. Just great performances in general happened. My picks weren't so good. I only got 5 out of 12. Bonuses go to Edson and Barboza versus Paul Felder. Got 5 night bonuses, while TJ Dillashaw and Tom Lawler earned performance of night bonuses. Some things to note about this card, though. Some of the refereeing was quite questionable. Stand up from from the back. Tate had eyes back, and Levine decided to stand to fight up. Joe Lozon calling the fight to be over before Herb Dean could. And I'll say this too, despite my bad picks, overall bad picks, there was some pretty questionable judging here. And if you know me, even if I pick a guy to win and he wins, and even though he shouldn't have, I'll say he shouldn't have won. Whether I picked the guy or not. For Andrew Holbrook over Ramsey Nijem. I have no idea how Holbrook won that one. I personally had Danny Castillo beating Jim Miller, and I don't know how Jim Miller got a 30-27 scorecard, to be perfectly honest with you. Not necessarily a robbery or anything, or that debatable, because it was a close fight. And same with Saunders versus Robertson. Close enough fight where it could have gone either way. I personally had it Robertson winning rounds 1 and 2. But, and heck, actually, to even go farther, I thought Jessamine Duke got a 10-8 round in round 3 against Elizabeth Phillips. But I can see the argument for 10-9. I just thought Duke was on her way to finishing Phillips. So I thought the judging was a bit questionable. Definitely affected my picks. And I'm not just saying that because of that too, that's just really how I feel. Whether or not I picked those guys or not, I would say the opposite. If I picked Jim Miller to win, I'd say, I thought Danny Castillo won that fight. And I've done it before too. So let's get started though. TJ Dillashaw defeated Renan Barão by TKO in the 4th round. Real masterful performance from Dillashaw here. Just working the angles, switching stances, utilizing jabs at times, and just a variety of strikes. Lots of good defense from Dillashaw. Barão did better in this fight than he did in the first fight, but ultimately Dillashaw is just a more well-conditioned fighter. It's pretty much how I thought it'd be. His use of movement and angles was just way too much for Barão, who really just couldn't catch up. He just looked much slower. Interestingly enough, though, Barão still has 100% takedown defense, and this fight still, despite getting beat up, still wouldn't get taken down. Interesting stat from Barão. He lost that fight. And once again, with the refereeing here, I kind of thought when Barão was up against the cage, this wasn't a bad stoppage, but I thought they could have stopped it a bit earlier. And I think it's Herb Dean. But, I don't think it's the worst stoppage, but still something questionable in a night where, the officials, I felt, didn't look so good. As far as who Dillashaw gets next, Dominic Cruz is the very obvious choice. I think that is a really fun and exciting fight, especially seeing both of how their styles match out. They're very similar. If not that, Dillashaw versus Rafael Sanchao makes total sense there. Sanchao is coming off a good win streak, has beaten TJ Dillashaw before in a pretty contentious split decision victory one of those that could have gone either way, but I actually thought Dillashaw should have won that fight. Nonetheless, I think both those fights are really good, but Cruz versus Dillashaw, I think, is the real money fight there, and the more highly anticipated fight. With Burrell, I mean, he can get a Francisco Rivera, maybe an Aljamain Sterling or Thomas Almeida next. At this point, he's fought most of the top 10 of the division. I can really only see him fight some of the new guys in the division at this point and see how they do against him. Otherwise, I guess he can fight a Mizugaki or something like that. I don't think he's fought him yet. But otherwise, yeah, as long as TJ Dillashaw is champ, Burrell isn't going to beat them. He's just not going to beat him. Or in my opinion, at least. Next fight, that Miesha Tate defeated Jessica Eye by unanimous decision. Questionable refereeing here again. Levine standing the fight up when Tate had Eye's back in at the last minute or so of the third round. Very questionable right there. I don't know why he'd do that. There was some improved striking from Tate. I mean, the thing with Eye was that she was actually lighting Tate up in the first round until Miesha found that right hand, and she was timing it well, and Eye just has shown susceptible to that strike, especially off the counter, susceptible to get hit with that particular strike. One thing that was really interesting about that, though, is I never actually felt that Miesha Tate had much power in her strike. So that's actually kind of what surprised me more than anything else, because I've seen enough of her fights to see, she can tag opponents here and there, but never actually seen her. I can't actually recall her dropping opposition. So that actually really surprised me. And from there, Miesha Tate just had the much better top game. And once the second and third round rolled around, I mean, it was all Miesha Tate. I think she dropped Eye again in the second round and got top position. And the third round, she managed to take her down and keep her down too. Just a great performance from Miesha Tate, who has shown, in my opinion, to have a questionable fight IQ. And starting at the beginning of the fight when she was striking with Eye, I was just like, here's Miesha Tate striking when she should be wrestling, or in times she's wrestling when she should be striking. But no, she did the right thing, and more or less managed to outstrike Eye in a sense, especially after she dropped her. Dana White confirmed that Tate does get the winner of Correia versus Rousey. It's hard to deny it at this point. Women's bantamweight is pretty much the thinnest division in the UFC. And even outside the UFC, I mean, one of the best prospects, Irene Aldana, just lost. It's not a hugely talent-rich division. It used to be, especially when Strikeforce had the division, and it just seemed like more and more fighters were getting into that division, moving up from 125, moving down from 145 to fight at 135. But ever since then, you just don't see too many women's bantamweight fighters coming into the UFC. You actually don't even see too many in Invicta as well. It's a pretty thin division. Talent-wise, too, fighters are getting better. I mean, Miesha Tate has shown that, but, it's still the Ronda Rousey show. I mean, I guess you can say about strawweight being, the Joanna Jędrzejczyk show, but I think that just as a division as a whole, strawweight just has, the better athletes and just the more skilled fighters. So you're just seeing fighters just getting better organically, whereas, with bantamweight, it always kind of seems like, oh, well, what can she do against Rousey? Does she have the distance tools? Can she fight off the judo? It's almost like you're looking out for that all the time, and it kind of seems like at times that women bantamweights are training specifically for Rousey, and like fighting in a way that would be good against Rousey in a sense. I'm getting in like kind of like a meta game here, from what I just observed from bantamweight. And I'm saying that too because Tate has fought Rousey 3 times. If Rousey beats Correia, which she should, yeah, or well, you know, she fought her twice, but we'll fight her a 3rd time. And you know, like, the thought in my head is like, oh, her striking's improved. Maybe she'll be a threat to Ronda Rousey. You know, it's not kind of like it's a sense of like, okay, well, her striking's improved. Cool. Can she beat Ronda with that? You know, that's really like the conclusion that you just come up with. She could probably do better against Rousey with her improved striking, but I think Rousey just armbars Tate yet again. Should they fight? With Jessica it's come off a loss here. She fight like Marion Renault. I think that would actually be a really good fight. Marion Renault versus Jessica Ai. Or else, I mean, you can get fighters coming off wins, I suppose. You can go Jessica Andrade. That'd be kind of cool. Andrade Ai. If you even want to do Jessica Ai, Holly Holm, it wouldn't actually be the worst matchup. I kind of like Ai versus Renault, though. I think they're kind of around the same level. Or if like Betch Correia loses to Ronda Rousey, Ai versus Correia would be pretty cool too. Next fight after that, Edson Barboza defeated Paul Felder by unanimous decision. This was a fun fight. I got fight of the night here. You know, I'll say this. I'll call this you know, I usually say what's an egregious pick. This may be one in a sense that I greatly underestimated Edson Barboza, while greatly overvaluing and overestimating Paul Felder here. I know some actually thought that Felder should have gotten the nod in this fight. I can see the argument for it. I thought ultimately Barboza got some cleaner hits. There's actually a point where like Felder was like just taking hits, and just like saying let's go, you know. This was fun though. For one, there was Barboza throwing the spinning back kick to Felder's groin, which just looked like absolutely devastating. This was fun in the sense that they were just trading spinning strikes. I thought that was kind of one thing that was something of the undoing of Paul Felder in here, because he was just throwing way too many spinning strikes for my liking. I thought his best weapons were just was that left hand. I thought that Felder should have kind of stuck with the boxing, you know, and actually Barboza has kind of shown susceptible to close quarters boxing. You know, he gets tagged with right hands by got dropped by right hands from Castillo. It's not really close quarters, they're like overhand rights, and Jamie Varner, but then got dropped by a jab from Cerrone. And Felder was hitting that left hand pretty much at will. I thought he should have stuck more with the pure boxing and the pressure game. Unfortunately, he wanted to just show off his spinning arsenal, and he threw X amount of spinning strikes in there. Barboza, though, man, those kicks are so quick. I mean, he throws them fast and he throws them hard. He shows why he's still a top 10 fighter. Felder's a tough guy, you know. Barboza, you know, he's going to have fun fights. I don't know if he'll ever be a true title contender. It's really tough to say. If you give him the right stylistic matchups, I suppose he can. I suppose that he can get the title, or fight for the title. He is hard to take down. However, he's one of those guys that does get hit clean. I think his boxing is far behind his kicking game. I also think he gets punched up a good amount of times, more than my liking. But nonetheless, you know, still top 10 level guy. Strong takedown defense, amazing kicks. Not the best chin, but he still tries to be in the fight regardless. And looks a little better about his resilience and whatnot. I think Barboza should fight Eddie Alvarez, Tony Ferguson next. Both of them are coming off wins over high-profile opposition too. Ferguson over Thompson, and Eddie Alvarez beating Gilbert Melendez. Felder, this fight, he looked good. He looked slow, part of it's just because Barboza's just so fast, but I thought that Felder was didn't seem like very quick to me, and I still think that he still has, I guess, a disjointed game because he went just for so many single spinning strikes to some effect, half them just whiffed air and some of them did actually connect. I'd like to just see him have a more, I guess, consistent game. I mean, he can throw those things, but, just go to the base. Because I just, like I said, I thought his boxing was actually the most effective thing here. He had a couple good flying knees and whatnot. But nonetheless, I think that Felder should fight Miles Jerry or Josh Thompson next. Next fight after that, Joe Lozon defeated Takanori Gomi by TKO in the first round. So Lozon pretty much stopped the fight himself. He managed to take Gomi down, get a dominant position, take his back, flattened him out, and pounded him out. And then he kept pounding him out until he saw that Gomi was out and stopped the fight himself. While Herb Dean just kind of sat there looking confused. Once again, not the best night for referees here. It's just one of those things that's Herb Dean's the observer here. Lozon's the fighter. I mean, Herb Dean should have saw that Gomi is out. You shouldn't have left it up to the fighter and looked confused when he got up like that. I think Gomi's pretty much done. A lot of the stuff that made Gomi is gone. His chin has been cracked by Jury, and then he lost by TKO here. His takedown defense is still alright, but it's not fantastic. He's still a guy that does get taken down, and he's still not great on the ground. And all he really has left is power, That's it. Doesn't have much else in the tank. Even his cardio is not very good either. Yeah, if Gomi wants to call it a career, it would make sense to me, to be perfectly honest with you. With Lozon, you kind of have to give Lozon, just fun fights. I think a guy that will give him a fun fight would be Evan Dunham. And Evan Dunham's coming off the win over Ross Pearson anyways. They're around the same level. If not, Diego Sanchez decides to stay at lightweight, I'd love to see Lozon versus Diego Sanchez. On account of the prelims, Tom Lawler defeated John Vellante by knockout in the second round. Wow. Just didn't expect that one. And man, Tom Lawler was losing. I mean, he lost that first round. He was getting his leg chopped down. He was getting hit clean a couple times with punches. Vellante was a much bigger guy. But Vellante, as much better as he's been, offensively, he's, he added the leg kick game, which looks really, which has been working to pretty good effect. He's good at, pretty athletic. Man, this guy has some defensive liabilities, He pretty much just ran into that punch by throwing his own combinations, lunging forward, I really expected Vellante to win that one, and the way the first round was looking, I thought would be rounds 2 and 3 if Vellante just didn't even, got the knockout maybe. But yeah, Vellante, he's just going to be a perpetual mid-tier guy in light heavyweight. And if Tom Lawler decides to stay at light heavyweight, honestly, his ceiling to me really is just, he's in his 30s. He's not much of a prospect. I can't really call him a prospect at this point. And he doesn't look totally fit at that weight class, too. Nonetheless, he's still good enough. It's such a thin division that he can get wins in the division. But yeah, both the guys should just be fighting more mid-level guys of the division at this point. I think Volante's good, but too many defensive liabilities to really move up the ladder, and cardio issues. Tom Lawler, his skill set is... He's one of those good everywhere, but not great at any one aspect of MMA type of guys. And I can see him get wins at light heavyweight. However, I can't really see him make anything of like a serious run. Next fight after that, Jim Miller defeated Danny Castillo by split decision. Yeah, this was a contentious split decision just because 29-28 Jim Miller is understandable. These are all close rounds. 30-27 Jim Miller has me scratching my head. I thought that Castillo did. I thought he got I think it was round 3 or something where he's hitting good the head kicks and whatnot. I thought that was pretty more definitive, to be honest with you, with Castillo. And I think he ended the round really well too, on top and side mounts. I was really surprised he got a 30-27 there. I also have to speak for body language too. Jim Miller after the fight, he looked downtrodden while Castillo looked pretty confident, and I got the impression that Miller was a bit surprised that he got the victory. Nonetheless, I mean, they were close rounds though, so it's not like I wouldn't call this a robbery, or anything like that. And I could see the argument for Jim Miller winning this fight. I personally thought that Castillo won it. And like I said, I don't know how Jim Miller got a 30-27. I didn't call the fight correctly at all, though. In my predictions, I thought that Castillo would win using superior wrestling. But Jim Miller managed to more or less just defend all takedowns and managed to get on top of Castillo a couple times. It was actually the striking that showed improvement from Castillo. He is using a lot more movement, throwing a lot more head kicks. I still don't like that he's throwing a lot of single strikes, but I thought those kicks looked particularly good. They looked particularly powerful, and he was moving a lot better than he used to. Jim Miller, solid blue collar type fight. He has a really nice. It's like 1-2 switch kick combination that he hits a lot. Well, he's always just in the fight too. But yeah, ultimately, I felt that Danny Castillo kind of outstruck him. I thought there was even an argument that Castillo got round 1. I mean, Jim Miller managed to get on top of Castillo, but then Castillo got on top of Miller for the majority of the last half of the round, and they were just standing. And I thought Castillo had round 2. I thought he just kind of did better in the striking there. And I thought Castillo did better in round 3 as well. So I would have given Danny Castillo the win there. Nonetheless, Jim Miller stays as this kind of pretty much a gatekeeper type opponent or fighter at this point. I can't see. He's crafty, and he's always in the fight. So, a guy that's going to fight him is going to have to work for 15 minutes unless they finish him. But, I can see a lot of guys outstriking him at this point. I guess he can test some of the younger guys. But, yeah, it's tough to see Miller being like a top 10. I can see him being more like an 11 to 15 type guy if he's not there already. I guess he can fight... Isn't like Quinta fighting Green? He can fight one of those guys like Bobby Green or like L.A. Quinta next. With Castillo, just more mid-level guys of the division at this point. He's in his 30s. I don't want to even say mid-30s, but he's still showing improvement. But, I don't think he can really make a serious run or anything like that into the top 10 at this point. I think Castillo's coming off like a 2-fight lose. Now it's like a 3-fight losing streak, and with only one of his last like 5. So I don't know if the UFC's even gonna keep Castillo at this point. I want to say it's 3 losses in a row now, but I think they should. He can fight on this level and get wins in the UFC. Next off that, Ben Saunders defeated Kenny Robertson by split decision. Close fight. You definitively have to give Ben Saunders round 3. I didn't think he was close to finishing round 3, but he definitely got a clear 10-9 round 3 on Robertson. I thought Robertson got round 2. There were times, especially when he had Saunders against the cage and managed to brawl with him and actually landed some clean shots. I'd also give Robertson round 1 just because he dropped him at the end of the round. But I still found it a very close fight. Saunders was clearly better on the ground, especially off of his back. You got to watch out for that rubber guard. Because once he gets that rubber guard, and especially if a hand is in the mat, he's going to go for that. It's like a type of triangle. He always goes for it. And that's what he did on the 3rd round. It's not a reverse triangle, or is it an inverted triangle? I forgot what it's called. But yeah, he was able to tee off with elbows and whatnot from that position. And he'll also attack with an omoplata from that position too, starting with rubber guard. In the stand-up, Ben's boxing isn't the best, and his defense to punches isn't the best. He's a good kicker and has really good knees as well. Very deadly knees, actually. So, he managed to get the range game and the clinch game relatively well. And his game off his back and just on the ground is very venomous. Robertson, I felt, was doing good with pressure and just going in there, pressure, and just brawling and just kind of winging haymakers at that point. He also counter kicks really well with punches. So yeah, it was a fun fight, and I believe that this was actually a contender for fight of the night as well. From what I read, that they were deciding whether Felder versus Barboza or this fight should have got fight of the night. Saunders passed a good test with Robertson though. Robertson is just one of those blue collar fighters like a Mike Pierce, Court McGee, George Sullivan, Ren LaFleur, and guys like that, and a guy that's just always gonna come at you, and he's just gonna make you work for the whole 15 minutes of the fight. It's good seeing Saunders. He passed that test, but at this point, I kind of see Saunders as something more of a fun action fighter. At this point, that's kind of where I'd like to see him. I'd like to actually see him fight Alan Joban. I think they might train together though. I think that would be a really fun fight, or just avoid the wrestler that's gonna try and grind him. Kind of like what Fitch did or whatnot, and that can avoid the rubber guard and whatnot, and just the dangerous guard of Saunders. But yeah, just someone like that, or maybe Warley Alves. I think he's fighting someone. I forgot who, but if he wins his fight, him versus Ben Saunders would be pretty cool too. Because Saunders is coming off a 3-fight win streak at this point, and he can use a step up in competition. Now with Kenny Robertson, like I said, just total lunch pail, blue collar type fighter. He's not always, his stuff's not the prettiest to watch, but he is always in the fight. You can give him did he fight George Sullivan already? You can give him him. Or just, he can test guys as well, You can give him he's come off a loss. You can give him Powell Pollock or something like that. Just a mid or lower tier guys in the division, really. Next fight, I thought Brian Caraway defeated Eddie Wineland by unanimous decision. Man, did Eddie Wineland look bad here. In hindsight, this is an egregious pick, too. I picked Wineland to win, and he lost. Wow, did he just look bad. And like, seriously, he just, like, almost like all of his a majority of his punches were just coming off up short, He'd throw a punch. He would he would like counter at times, but just like miss, or else he'd throw a jab and just like hit air, like right before like Caraway's face at times, His timing and just his sense of range and distance was just way off. Caraway, credit to Caraway, I mean, he's a guy. His striking, I feel, is rudimentary, but it's good enough. It's good enough to get the job done here. He's getting in some good left hooks on Eddie Wineland, threatened with the takedown at times. Caraway is just one of those guys that's. He kind of reminds me of like Jake Shields. It's just he's tough to put away, and like if you don't mind your P's and Q's, he can take you down and submit you. And even in the stand-up, even though he's not the best in the stand-up, you still have to be mindful of his stand-up, in a sense, even though it's not the best stand-up. With Caraway, I think he should fight like Francisco Rivera next. Who else? He fight guys like Tomas Almeida or like Aljamain Sterling as well. That'd be pretty cool. Actually, he'd be a good test for those type of guys. Eddie Wineland, man, if this guy wants to call it a career, maybe he should. Or maybe just give him some lower to mid-tier guy of the division. The guy has broken his jaw and had to have like surgery on his jaw like twice now. And he just looked flat here, It was Eddie Wineland. He's moving relatively well, using head movement, trying to box. It's just like he just couldn't really find his range here, But yeah, if he stays, just like give him some like mid-level guy. Next fight after that, and this is the Fight Fast prelims. James Krause defeated Darren Cruikshank by rear naked choke in the first round. Krause just pretty much saved his job here, Darren Cruikshank, he's not that great on the ground. He's just not. And James Krause, for all his faults, is pretty good on the ground. Or good on the ground. I shouldn't even just say pretty good. He is good on the ground. He's good guillotine. He can take the back well and whatnot. I thought Cruikshank was doing pretty well on the feet until the fight got to the ground, and then Krause off the scramble, took the back, got the rear naked choke, and it was all over. Cruikshank's still a fun action fighter. I can see the UFC keeping him despite the fact that I believe he's on a losing streak now. But yeah, he's a guy that's kind of on that threshold of like getting cut, he's actually getting outstruck a lot of, here and there too, even though his strength is in striking. Krause, crafty guy. He's not the best striker. He's pretty tall for the weight class though. Very crafty on the ground. So that's kind of what I have to give Krause at this point. He's just really crafty. I'd say just give him more like lower to mid-tier guys at division, both of them. Next right after that, Andrew Holbrook defeated Ramsey Najem by split decision. This one, I have no idea how Andrew Holbrook won this fight. He was at the beginning of rounds 2 and 3, he was getting outstruck. And while Najem was fighting in Holbrook's wheelhouse, he was still getting the dominant positions. He'd end up on top. He'd take the back at times. I have no idea how Holbrook got the decision. I thought that Najem was out scrambling him. He was able to take him down. out positioning him, getting good positions at times. And while Holbrook would threaten with like a leg lock here and there and stuff like that, I mean, Nedjam just got out of it. You know, I didn't see him being in like huge danger. And on the feet, Nedjam was winning. So, I don't know how this was a win for Andrew Holbrook. That just confused the heck out of me. I guess you can kind of give an argument that, like, oh, Nedjam shouldn't have fought in Holbrook's wheelhouse, I suppose. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't know what the judges were seeing here. I really don't. Good win for Holbrook, I suppose. Like to see his game moving forward. He's good on the ground for sure. His striking can definitely use some work. I'd like to see what he has to offer with a full camp. But yeah, definitely don't think he deserved to win here. Nedjam, lots of faults. You know, he's very reckless. Such a reckless fighter. You know. There's sometimes when he'd pass guard or whatnot and like kind of get in a scramble or something when he might be better off just raining down ground and pound from half guard or something like that. But he didn't do that at times. He gets really reckless, and that's the biggest problem with Nedjam. But he's a good enough fighter to get wins in the UFC, but he's just really inconsistent, and you cannot count on him to get wins. You just can't. Both guys just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Next fight after that, Elizabeth Phillips defeated Jessamyn Duke by unanimous decision. Oh man, Duke, man, you know, excuse me one sec. Yeah. You know, I remember seeing her in Invicta. I was thinking, yeah, man, she's one of the top prospects at women's bantamweight, you know. You know, she was still young. She had good skill set. She had really good knees from the clinch, good ground and pound, fight off her back. Once she entered the UFC, though, besides her win over Peggy Morgan, man, she looks like such an amateur in there. I mean, you know, she is definitely someone that could have used just way more seasoning in the regional scene. And with 3 losses in a row, I can see her getting cut. She had a great 3rd round, though. I mean, she really put it to Phillips. Almost finished her at times of the fight, but just couldn't get the win. And there's an arguable 10-8 round for Duke there. But Phillips was the better wrestler. When she was on top, she can stay on top and get dominant positions. On the feet, she was able to tag Duke a good amount of times. Phillips, though, does have cardio issues. I don't think this is the first time that she looked pretty bad in the 3rd round. But she definitely did enough to stay in the UFC. And Duke, I mean, seriously, she needs work. I know she got a deal, or may have gotten a deal with WWE. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if she's going to go there or not. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But she stays in MMA. I would, for one, greatly recommend that she goes to a different camp. This camp just isn't working. You know, I'm thinking like Caderos, like go to Kings, you know, because she can maybe, because she did well when she's pressuring. You know, that's a Cadero specialty. And then she, you know, they work on body kicks. They have the knees up and close. And you know, Duke has some pretty good knees. You know. It's a different camp than where she's training at this point. Because it's just not working for her, really. And with Phillips, just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. Finally, Zach Cummings defeated Dominic Steele by TKO in the 1st round. Great showing for Cummings. You know, he's going to be tough out for anyone there. He is huge for the weight class. He can strike pretty well. But his grappling is pretty deadly. Beat up. I mean, he just beat up Dominic Steele, really. Steele, gosh, I don't know if he's going to have much staying power in the UFC. Like, even the footage I saw from him before this fight and scouting him, I mean, he didn't look very great, you know. It's big, but, you know, that's all I can really give him at this point. Which is Cummings, just more, both these guys just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for UFC on Fox 16. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.